You are listening to episode 750 of the Juicebox Podcast. We are all in for a real treat today because Pam has had type 1 diabetes for a very long time, and she's going to share a lot of it with us today. You're going to learn about diabetes. You're going to learn about being married, about love and loss and life. It's a tour de force, this episode. While you're listening, please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. If you have type 1 diabetes and are a U.S. resident or are a U.S. resident and are the caregiver of someone with type 1 diabetes, go to t1dexchange.org/juicebox. Complete the survey and you've helped someone with type 1 diabetes. You may have helped yourself and you've definitely helped the show. t1dexchange.org/juicebox. Completely HIPAA compliant, absolutely anonymous. It only takes 10 minutes or less. This show is sponsored today by the glucagon that my daughter carries, Gvoke HypoPen. Find out more at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. Today's episode is also sponsored by the Contour Next One blood glucose meter. Arden uses it, we love it, and you can have one too. contournext.com/juicebox.
Hi, I'm Pamela, and I've had type 1 diabetes for 50 years.
And Pamela, you're 51 years old, is that right?
No, I was diagnosed at 22.
Okay. You're 72 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
72 years, young.
The other day, someone made a big deal to me that I didn't look my age. And as I was having the conversation with him, I kept saying, I'm 50 years old. And we turned around and took 3 steps away. And Arden says, you're 51, right? And I...
That's good.
And I said, no, I'm not. Is that what happened at my last birthday? And she's like, yes, at your last birthday, you were 51. I said, oh, I have to stop saying I'm 50 then. Anyway, 72 feels like quite an accomplishment, I imagine.
Yeah, I guess 72 is the new 50, though, isn't it?
Is that what they're going to say?
That's what I've heard or read.
Did you read that in a place where your back didn't hurt, or
nothing hurts on me? No, thank God.
Well, yeah. Let's find out a little bit about all that. That's really something else. So, 22 years old, 50 years ago. What year was that?
Yeah. Around 1972.
Wow.
Because I was 17 in 1967 when I graduated high school, and so 18, 19, so.
I'm going to tell you, I was born in 71. So that's probably about right on for 50
years.
I
think that is right. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Do you remember anything about that at all?
Oh, yeah. I was living in Los Angeles. I was a professional singer, musician, and I was losing weight, but I didn't notice it because I'm pretty thin anyway. Mm-hmm. And so if you're losing 2 pounds, a month, I kept thinking, well, I exercise a lot. I'm just toning up, Mm-hmm. And I went home to visit my folks in Kansas City. And they took one look at me and they said, get on the scale. I didn't even own a scale. So my dad says, you're 90 pounds. I thought, oh, God. And I remember when I was in LA that I was in the movie theater with a girlfriend. I was holding up, I don't even know how big they are, those huge family-size Cokes. Mm-hmm. I mean, I never drink that stuff anymore, but she said, Pam, I'm embarrassed. We're in a movie theater and you're holding up this 64-ounce bottle. So I guess I was really starving for sugar, right?
Right.
So my parents said, tomorrow morning, we're going to go to your cousin, who's a urologist, and he's going to check you out.
Mm-hmm.
I was in his office for a few seconds and he said, "You're going to the hospital." So my blood sugar was 1200.
Wow. How long do you think that had been going on before you made it to the doctor's office?
Probably at least a year or two. Maybe it was lower and it just kept getting more and more. I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I had no way to know. But I went into the hospital and a woman who was very nice came in and showed me how to inject myself with insulin. She showed me on an orange, and then every time I'd shoot it into myself, I think of the orange. So I'm just going to sip a little water here.
You're fine.
So, and then another woman came and she said, "I've been diabetic for, 40 years. She was probably in her 50s. And she told me that she had no complications. She told me what she did. Everything she did was, good.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that's going to be me. And I felt so good after having insulin. Oh my God. I was like the old me again.
Right.
So it wasn't depressing for me. It was a rescue. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No, of course.
So that was my beginning.
Wow. How did you make it out to LA to be a singer? Because that's not what you ended up doing through your life. Is that right?
Well, I did that for 20 years. I played Funny Girl in I played Fanny Bryce in Funny Girl musical in high school. And I decided that I was going to devote my life to music. And my parents, I knew if I said, I want to move to LA, they would have said, no, you have to go to college. So I was in my sophomore year. I went to USC and they had a musical comedy workshop with the Civic Light Opera that I got into. And so they would work with me every night while I went to college. And then I dropped out because I got on a TV show and I dropped out of school. And then my parents were thrilled and they watched me and, it was all good.
Hold on, Pamela. What TV show were you on, Pam?
Oh God. I mean, this is the Flintstone era, right? Let's see. That was Jim Neighbors' musical variety show.
Really?
Yeah. He used to play Gomer Pyle.
No, I know who you're talking about. I'm worried that I know what you're talking about.
That's even more worse. That's scary.
You said that well, you're not going to know what I'm saying, but I do. Yeah. No, that's, were you like a background singer or a player?
Well,
how'd that work?
Yeah, I was the ethnic girl. They had an African-American woman, a blonde, and I was the brunette. And there were 4 guys and 4 women. And we would sing, with Jim and do skits. And I mean, just everything really. It was really fun. But after a year, I thought, I'm going to end up like these other women being backup singers for the rest of my life. So I quit and I started traveling, to Japan and the Playboy Club circuit and all that's what I did for 20 years.
Pam, I have to tell you, the funniest thing is that at that time, what passed for an ethnic girl was a white girl from Kansas with dark hair.
Yeah, a Jewish girl.
Oh, I see. That's how they got the that's what passed for ethnicity at that point, huh?
Right. So.
By the way, not for nothing, how did a Jewish person end up in Kansas?
There are millions of Jewish people in Kansas. I mean, they're just an incredibly large amount.
There's I didn't realize there was a big community there. That's interesting.
Yeah, huge.
That's something. So, all right. Well, I now think you're famous from this story. And anybody my age or older believes that. But everyone younger is like, she said Jim Neighbors. I don't know what that means.
I know.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, so... So when you went home and you were diagnosed, did you ever go back to LA or is that what brought you home?
No, I had just gone to, I was diagnosed and I went into the hospital. And once I felt good, I went back to LA.
You did go back. Okay.
Yeah.
How much longer did you stay?
20 years.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
I left when I was 40 years old and I moved back to Kansas City. And, when I was 43, I met my late husband who is incredible. And we were married 30 years. He died a year and a half ago.
I'm
And
sorry.
so that's why I'm back in Kansas City. But I love Kansas City. I mean, I grew up here. So
Yeah. And I'm sorry, Kansas City, Kansas City, Missouri.
Overland Park, Kansas.
Okay. Okay.
And when I up till 9, I was in Missouri, and then we moved across the state line a few blocks, and I was in Kansas. So
first, a change of pace. Okay, so there's a lot of richness going on here. Hold on a second. So after you decided I don't want to be a backup singer anymore, you were still in LA for quite some time. So what did you do between those years?
I was so lucky. My agent booked me in Japan, and I got to go to Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto. And I would be like a tourist in the day, and I would explore. And then at night, I'd sing with a great big 17-piece band. I had big band charts that my arranger made for me. And the stage would be spinning around, and there were all these Japanese or Asian men. There were no women.
Okay.
and then I would sing, and then, maybe Osaka and Kyoto, there might have just been a trio. Mm-hmm. And then I did the Playboy circuit, which was really an archaic. I'm sure no one that's 30 years old even has ever heard of it, or even 40.
Right.
But they'd have a comedian open, and then I would sing after that.
No kidding. Pam, for clarity, you had your clothes on while you were singing?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I was already a feminist at that age. Yeah. I was kind of like not happy these women had to wear those bunny suits. I thought it was really weird, but
it's so interesting. Wow. So you made a living like that whole time. You never married in that time?
No, I made this vow, that I was going to sing until I was famous. And I recorded with Richard Carpenter after his sister died. But A&M Records was afraid to put me on with him. So they got Dionne Warwick instead, and Dusty Springfield. They thought, because it was his solo album, and they thought that would sell better. But, after that, I was pretty disappointed. And I decided that I was kind of burnt out, and I wanted to go home and be near my family.
So through all this time, the 70s, the 80s, I mean, when did you move home? What year? Do you remember?
Yes, 1990.
Okay. So 70s, 80s, up until 1990, you're living this life in a world where diabetes management is pretty shaky. So how did you think about your diabetes during that time, or did you not? Or I
did. I had my cousin out there knew the best endocrinologist, I think, honestly, in the face of the earth at that time, Dr. Sherman Holvey. And he was president of the ADA. He had a support group. He had a diabetic educator. You could call anytime, day or night, and somebody would be there to help you. Mm-hmm. It was unbelievable. And he told me, Pam, you have a couple choices here. You can either take care of yourself, exercise, measure your food with your insulin. And, I've always eaten a lot of carbs, and, or, don't do those things, and you might suffer the complications. So I thought he was my inspiration, really. He inspired me he said he ran on the beach every morning, 5 miles, and I thought, okay,
I could do that.
Yeah. So anyway, I kind of had good role models.
Okay. And what was management like? I mean, you were animal insulin at first, right?
Oh my God. We had urine sticks. That's how we checked our blood sugar. Mm-hmm. If it was dark green, you were super high. If it was really light green, you were wonderful. So
that was the whole thing.
Yeah, that was it. And then years later, they came out with glucose meters. Mm-hmm. Glucometer.
But they were big back then, though, right?
Yeah, and I thought, I was living alone, and I thought, I'll just check my blood sugar 10 times a day, because that way I won't black out, and that'll be the best way to go. And I was singing, and so on the 45-minute shows, and you go into the bathroom on the break, check your blood sugar, come back out, and
Keep
so
going.
that's just what I did, because singing burns up a lot of glucose. You're jumping around and all that.
Yeah.
So
Pam, did you black out frequently?
no, the only time I had one blackout, two in 50 years, I've had two. I was driving on the freeway from I can't remember where I was, San Diego or somewhere. I did a recording session, and the person that was recording me took me to dinner, just a nice guy, friends. And I don't drink. I still don't drink. But that night I probably had a fourth of a glass of wine, and I probably was so focused on talking that I didn't think about my carbs. So my car, so I blacked out.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm alive. I mean, it's a miracle, really.
Was it did you have a seizure?
Yeah.
That's how you would put it, right? And how
that's
did you?
What I would call it.
How did you come back from it? Like, did someone help you, or what?
Well, I was 65 miles an hour on the freeway. I pulled into. I didn't know who I was or where I was. It was like a surreal nightmare.
Gvoke HypoPen has no visible needle and is a premixed autoinjector of glucagon for treatment of very low blood sugar in adults and kids with diabetes ages 2 and above. Find out more. Go to gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. Gvoke shouldn't be used in patients with insulinoma or pheochromocytoma. Visit gvokeglucagon.com/risk. At some point on your diabetes journey, a person gave you a blood glucose meter. Did they say to you, hey, this is a great blood glucose meter. It's one of the most accurate ones that they ever made. No one said that. Did they say, by the way, there are other blood glucose meters. You might want to look into it. I'm just going to give you this one because I have it here in the drawer. Nope, they didn't say that either. They just gave it to you and you thought, well, this must be my blood glucose meter because the doctor gave it to me. But there are many meters, and they're not all made equally. You deserve an accurate, well-made, and easy-to-use blood glucose meter. You deserve the Contour Next One. The Contour Next One is my favorite blood glucose meter. I know that's a strange thing to say, but we've used a number of them over the years, and this one is my favorite. Why? Bright light for use at night. The screen, super easy to read. It's manageable. And by that, I mean it's a good size. It's not too big. It's not too small. And I love the way it fits in my hand. It's sort of, because of the shape, which you'll see at contournext.com/juicebox, almost feels like you're holding a pen in your hand. I don't know how to put it exactly. You'll see when you get to the website. But the Contour Next One blood glucose meter is incredibly accurate. But you might be worried, Scott, all this accuracy, is it more expensive? Am I going to be paying a bunch more money? I don't think so. Actually, if you go to contournext.com/juicebox, you can actually buy it right now at a number of online venues. Walmart, Amazon, Walgreens, CVS, a list goes on and on, Target, Rite Aid. And so when you get to my link, check it out, because you might be able to save time and money buying Contour Next products from the convenience of your home. What am I saying? Well, I'm saying that it's possible that this meter and the test strips could be cheaper in cash than you're paying right now through your insurance company for an inferior product. How crazy is that? You owe it to yourself to be using the best equipment that you can. And there's no reason not to check out the Contour Next One blood glucose meter. contournext.com/juicebox.
And I pulled into the side of the freeway, the left side, and the police were knocking on my window. And I thought, I guess eventually I opened the door and they took me to the hospital. I probably had a diabetic bracelet on. And that was that. And
Wow.
The other time when I was married, my husband, he knew when I was acting strange that my blood sugar was low. And so he wanted to call paramedics. And I said, no, do not call them. And I was like banging on his arm, which I never would do normally.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing you know, he said I was out laying on the floor, So that was my 2 escapades. Never had anything since.
Okay.
And I don't think I ever will, because I'm so well controlled, and I have Dexcom and all that. So
yeah, back in those days though, in the beginning, did they measure your A1C, or how did you measure your health?
Oh yeah, I was about in the high 5s.
Okay. Did you eat a particular diet or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did. The woman that taught me at Dr. Holvey's office told me I would eat 4 carbs a meal, 20 grams of fat, because the fat slows down the rise of glucose, fruit. And they gave me a booklet, that diabetic booklet with all the little foods and how much the equation. And so, what else? I had
and
milk.
You followed that every day.
Every day, yeah. Fail. Tons of carbs. But now, as I got older, I started doing research when I could on the phone, and saw that high fiber doesn't escalate your blood sugar very much. And so, now I've been eating high fiber for almost a great part of those 50 years. And, people talk about how diabetic people say they want to eat chocolate cake, or, I haven't wanted that, because I'll eat a mango. 90 grams of a mango is 15 carbs. So I put it on my little scale, and it's, to me, the best. My taste buds have changed.
You prefer the sweetness come from something
fruit.
Natural, from fruit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just said I don't like to take chances. And so it's not worth it to me to go out and, have a hot fudge sundae when I don't even want it anyway. The thought of it almost gags me, because I know what it would do to me, and then I'd have to chase the blood sugar with the pump, the Dexcom and my Omnipod, and I'm looping with the Riley link, which has changed my life.
Right.
I guess I know that type 1, people with type 1 do that. They eat something real sweet and they work it out. And there's things you can do with your Riley link or whatever looping device you're on. But for me, I just don't want to take the chance, because like I said, it's not a big deal. So I don't crave that stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Would you consider yourself a lower carb eater, like your overall daily carbs?
Well, I have 4 for breakfast, 4 for lunch, and 5 for dinner.
And that includes the fruit?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow.
And then the 20 grams of fat, which is not the lean meat included in the lean meat. It's outside of that. And then what else? I don't know.
Pam, I got to tell you, you're 72. And I'm going to ask you, I'm going to start eating your diet.
No. Well, it's really good. My cholesterol's so low. My A1C is a 5. Now, I don't recommend that for anyone listening to this program, but for me, it works because I'm very careful, and I exercise the first thing after breakfast. I'm on the treadmill 30 minutes, and then I do yoga. I'm a yoga teacher now, last 30, 40, 50, 20 years. So, I stand on my head. I do all kinds of crazy stuff, but it all works. And then I go about my day. So that's my life, basically.
I want to pick through it a little more with you. You got up this morning, you ate breakfast. What'd you have?
I eat the same thing for breakfast every day. High fiber waffle. It's got 21 carbs, and then fruit, applesauce on my oatmeal with, and I became lactose intolerant this year, which is really fun. So I have to take these lactose pills. Then I have lactose, no lactose yogurt, but I still have to take them because I react anyway. So that's what I eat. And then what else? I guess that's it. Peanut butter on the waffle. Oh no, almond butter. I used to do peanut butter. Almond butter is real super healthy. My endocrinologist in California told me. So
okay, so Pam, I'm confused about one thing. So a second ago, I thought you said the waffle had like 21 carbs in it. Is that right?
It does. Yeah. But then the oatmeal.
But earlier you said like 3 and 4 and 5 at a meal. But what I'm misunderstanding something you're saying.
Okay. So the oatmeal has 20 carbs. That brings it up to 41. The fruit has 15. 41 and 15 is 56. And then I'll eat one Triscuit.
Jesus. But so but so you have a meal with like over 50 carbs in it for breakfast.
It's got 60. Yeah, it's 60 really.
Okay. And then how much insulin is that for you in the morning?
Well, I can tell you that my overall basal rate all day is 2.1. It used to be 4.
Wait, tell me 2.1 an hour or 2.1 all day?
No, all day.
Okay.
My basal rate. Now that's without the food, that's just my basal rate.
Yeah, I'm following you. Hold on one second. I'm pulling up a calculator. I didn't know we were going to have so much fun. Hold on a second. All right. So if you're doing, I'm just going to round it and say 2 divided by 24. You're getting less than 0.1 an hour in basal.
How much?
Less than 0.1 or around
0.1? It's 0.05 all day.
Okay.
And all night except for 0.10, for 2 hours in the afternoon. And at night, it's 25 and 35. 1 hour of 25 and 1 hour of 35.
How much do you weigh?
0.35.
Yeah. How much do you weigh?
118, 117.
Is this okay, so I'm assuming you, Pam, I am assuming you went through menopause like 20 years ago, but
yeah.
Okay. But prior to that, were you on a pump prior to menopause? Or do you know what your total daily basal was before, while you still had hormones going?
It was so much higher. It was like all day long was a whole bunch of insulin, like, 0.30 that hour and then 0.50 another hour. It was
wow.
It was wild.
Yeah. So if you were at prior to this, like a half a unit an hour, and now you're not even a
unit.
Like, you're so low, so much lower. So, but do you think is that the change? Is it the loss of the hormone fluctuations that changed your?
No. Oh no. It's the Riley link has changed my life.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you're using Loop, right? With
I'm looping. Yeah. It's changed my life. It really has.
And so the Loop is keeping you super steady with a lower basal rate, but you're making up for the insulin you need at meals. So what's your insulin to carb ratio? Do you know?
Yeah. 15 grams of carb to 1 unit of insulin.
1 to 15. Okay. So you're 1 to 15. You have a very low basal rate. Do you notice the Loop giving you extra basal during the day, or is it fairly stable?
If I'm under stress, I'll hear it going beep, beep, and I'm going, oh, thank you, and then I found this override just lately. Boy, did that change. Well, let's see. The override is good because I took an improv class lately just for fun. First time I went, it was kind of stressful. And so I put the override on, for a temporary basal, and it asks you what amount of how high you want your blood sugar to go, how low and how high, and you fill it in. And then it just, during that time that I was at the first improv class, my blood sugars were perfect. Instead of me bolusing for stress and giving myself 2 units of insulin and then plummeting down and have to, it's like a roller coaster. So it's horrible.
You go to that little icon at the bottom of the app, the heart. You touch that,
right?
And then you roll up to what'd you use? 130%, or where did you go to? Do you remember?
Well, it's not a percent. They ask you what range you want your blood sugar.
Right.
And so I put it low. I don't want to tell people because I don't want anyone to get into trouble.
Oh, so you just changed your target so that it would be a little more aggressive. Oh, look at you. So you didn't change the strength of the algorithm by rolling up the percentage. You just changed your target to be lower.
Yeah, just for that hour
time.
or two, yeah.
Right.
And I was on stage doing this improv, and I could hear my little thing going beep, beep, and I was like, "Oh, thank you." It's like a human pancreas,
It feels good when something's looking out for you. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're like, "Oh, thank you," without putting my Dexcom on the attentive. I always have it on the attentive sound.
Mm-hmm.
And God, how embarrassing that would be during an improv.
you could just improv right around the noise, I would imagine.
Yeah. It's aliens. Aliens have landed.
How long have you been using Loop?
Let's see, about 3 years, 3 or 4 years.
Did you set it up yourself?
No. So I was teaching yoga outdoors at this hot springs, and 10 women or 15 women walk in wearing Omnipods. They have bikinis on because it's people go swimming. And I ran up to them after the class and I said, I wear an Omnipod too. And some had pumps with the tubing, and everybody was proud. It was like they were being bold, bold with insulin, right?
Right.
So they said, don't you know about the Riley link? I said, no. And they told me, and I went ahead and ordered it. And my late husband's brother was a genius, launched a lot of spaceships, and he set it up. And then my husband watched. And then every time I had to replace it, my husband would know what to do.
Right.
When I moved to Kansas City, he was passed on. And so I had to hire somebody because I'm just not a tech person.
No, I remember a half an hour ago when we got on this call, I didn't think you were a tech person.
Oh, God. I mean, I think to myself, I can't imagine what anyone listening to this show that's 20 or 30 is thinking, because they're just eating whatever they want, most people, and they don't want to live this crazy life. But to me, it isn't crazy, but it looks crazy, I guess.
Well, I don't know about that, Pam. I also think that as you get older, maybe everybody doesn't feel this way, but some things lose their luster. And for me, eating was one of them. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I realized how much eating was around, I guess, community, right, and socialization, and then my mom's birthday was recently. My mom turned 80. We had her over. She wanted steak and shrimp, and we made all this stuff. And I had steak left over, and for days afterwards, my kids would hey, it's lunchtime. What are we gonna have? Well, Dad's gonna eat that steak, and I'd just be like, yeah, it's good. Like I don't need it to be. I don't know. I don't need it to be a whole big different thing constantly. But I don't know if that's a thing that comes with age or not.
Maybe. Yeah. Because I really like I eat different things sometimes at night, but in the day it's very similar,
You taking any supplements, or have you over the years?
Vitamins? Oh yeah.
What do you do?
I take everything, vitamin C, multi, E, flax oil, all that vitamin, beta carotene, all that stuff.
No kidding. Did you and your husband have kids?
No.
No. Was that a decision because of your age or diabetes or what?
No. He had a daughter, and so he felt like it would make her feel bad, that we would, because we were living in Kansas City and she was out in California. So that's what that was a decision. And as a result of that, I've been in a lot of programs with like Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Now I am. And then a diabetic program with Children's Hospital where you mentored a type 1 child. So I always have a child in my life. I love children.
Yeah.
So it's very important to me.
Was it disappointing to you not to have kids, or?
I don't think I kept thinking, well, my husband has a daughter. It'd be like our daughter,
right.
Even though she's out of town. And so that's kind of how
they're kind of a pain in the ass, Pam. You probably dodged a bullet, if I'm being honest with you. Every day these kids seem to want something or need it, or I don't know.
Yeah,
they've got
that's good.
Oh no, I know. Or they have emotions you have to tend to, or there's a lot.
Sure.
Yeah. No, but that's interesting. And I looked at your LinkedIn. I've seen you've done a lot of nice things over your life.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So I looked at you've done a lot of good writing and
uh,
um,
you're very kind. You
it's
don't have to be nice to me, Pam.
oh,
It's okay. We're talking
it's
to you.
true.
No.
No, it's true.
Oh, that's very interesting. I try to come off like just like a big dummy that makes this podcast. Is that working, Pam, or do you think I'm not getting away with it?
No, I think you're very understanding. I've listened to a lot of them and I've learned a lot.
Oh, I'm
I
glad.
kept thinking, what can I learn? Right. But of course, there's always so much to learn. And, for instance, I learned setting your warning sign that you're going to get low higher than like I had it on like 65. Well, by that time, that's
It's too
crazy,
late.
isn't
Yeah.
it? So, even though I do have a signal that says you're starting to go low. So anyway, I've changed that. I've just learned a lot.
Yeah. I appreciate that very much. Okay. So did you know many type 1s throughout your life?
Yeah, they didn't take care of themselves, and it's some of them are gone now. It's just sad,
How did you end up meeting them originally?
Well, I ran into one at a diabetic store. The little girl I mentored in the program, she was 12 when I met her. She's 40 now, but she lives in California. But I know what her, I know what's going on with her, and so I guess I don't know
too many.
No,
yeah, but because I was wondering, without like the digital age, because you're in a really interesting situation. I mean, you lived like right over top of the line where the internet came, and you're somehow involved in it now. Like I mean, you're using a do-it-yourself algorithm to manage your diabetes. You're in my Facebook group. You meet with people socially. You meet with people like through your businesses and doing yoga and things like that. So you have a lot of interaction with people, and I just wondered how many of them would have diabetes, and I didn't imagine many. But are you saying that of the people you've seen poor health outcomes for them?
Well, I have a cousin who started out on pills, as a type 2, and then his he wasn't getting regulated, and so they put him on insulin, and he's doing better. I think the little girl that I sponsored, I was hoping that she would have no complications like me, but she's had some heart stuff. It's just, you can't make anyone do anything. And I never try to push make her feel like you talk about on your show, shaming someone,
Right.
And I would never do that to her. But when children grow up with a parent that maybe doesn't feed them healthy food, they really don't want any healthy food, So I mean, that's not for everyone, but I mean, I notice that sometimes that how you grow up. And I was just lucky. My mom lived to 101 and a half. She walked a lot. She ate healthy, and, so I had a good role model. I was lucky.
101
and a half.
How did she pass? Did
she choked on something.
I almost cursed, Pam. Okay. Well, really? That's what got her?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Oh, she was still going.
Yeah, it was so funny though. The last year or so, my husband would come over and visit. We moved her out to California with us, and I put her in a little residential home with like 4 other people. And my mother would look at me and she'd say, "Who's that old man with you?"
Talking about your husband.
Yeah. Well, she started not knowing anybody but me.
Right.
Because I spent a lot of time with her. So,
yeah.
Her quality of life wasn't so great the last year or two. So
that's something else.
It was okay, but
that's really something. Well, good for. Did your father? How long did your father live?
86, and he had Alzheimer's. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And he didn't have exactly a, he didn't. My parents never didn't drink, or smoke. But although my mom did maybe for a few years when I was young, but I think genetics has something to do with
I mean,
everything
obviously,
too.
yeah. What about other autoimmune issues? Do you have any others?
Well, from age 20, well, when I got diagnosed around the 24 to age 40, I could not get rid of female fungal infections. I just couldn't. All the medicine didn't work.
Right.
So when I went back to visit my parents, now I'd had it for all those millions of years, and it's not fun to have a chronic infection when it affects your blood sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a really, I call him brilliant immunologist from India at one of the hospitals here, and he fixed it for a year with some medicine. But he said, you can't be on this forever. And he said, he was really a holistic person. He was looking at the whole person. He said, Pam, I think you're depressed. I said, oh, no, not me. He said, here, I'm going to give you an antidepressant. I said, no, that's okay. So I took it home. I swallowed it. I just fell asleep. And I thought, I flushed him down the toilet. And I thought, this is like crazy medicine and I'm not crazy. And anyway, to make a long story short, I did get depressed around the time I moved back to Kansas City, seriously depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, I got treatment, and in 1 month, my phagocytes that the immunologist found that were a 2%, they should be 100%. In 1 month on an antidepressant, they were 100%. 1 month. He was right.
What does that measure?
Well, phagocytes eat bacteria, have something to do with eating bacteria, your body.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. A type of cell within the body.
It's called PHA.
Yeah, of engulfing and absorbing bacteria and other small cells and particles.
Yeah, I mean, I really felt hesitant to even share that I'm on an antidepressant because I don't tell very many people, except my close friends.
And now all the people listening to this.
People think that you're weak and fragile, and
do you imagine that's a generational concept, though? Don't you think? Like maybe,
I think so.
Yeah, maybe because of your age, you think of it that way. But I don't imagine that people would think of it that way any longer.
Well, I hope not, because chemical imbalance happens, and in our family, it was prevalent, and so that's just. But it fixed my immune system. I had all those years being a mess, and all of a sudden, I wanted to get married. The counselor said to me, have you ever thought of getting married? And I said, oh, that's a good idea. You think somebody would want to be with me? And he said, sure. So that's when I met my husband.
Yeah.
And we got married, and it's incredible. My life was so much richer than being a singer and a musician. I mean, if I had to do it over, I would have had 4 or 5 kids, but it's kind of late for that.
Right.
So.
You were later when you met him. I see. I understand now. Hey.
Yeah, we married.
You know who wasn't interested? Jim Neighbors.
Oh, I don't want to laugh. No.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
I think you and I are the only one that understand that statement. So
yeah, I know. Well, and I respect everybody's.
Oh, sure. No, of course. No. I'm just teasing. But
I know.
Yeah. But that's really interesting. So because I'm glad you shared that part, because the story felt a little disjointed, because it didn't make sense to me that you got married at 43 and now it does.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wasn't afraid of getting close to someone. All those years I would pick unavailable men, and all of a sudden I had an available man, and I was really scared, but I was able to handle it and embrace it and feel grateful, and it was just wonderful.
Yeah, that's excellent. So no thyroid stuff or celiac or anything like that?
No, nothing. I have no complications of from diabetes, and I'm good. I just nothing else.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Any siblings?
Yeah, I do. I have a brother. He's 8 years older.
Does he have any issues?
No, no diabetes. I think my father had some family members, like a little boy that had diabetes, like one of his nephews had diabetes. So that's what we think. It's that in the family in that way.
On your father's side, maybe. And your brother has children?
They're
And
fine.
nothing there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, what made you want to come on and do this? We're 45 minutes into this, so I wanted to ask you why you wanted to come on the podcast.
Because I think it's important that people understand that taking good care of yourself it makes life less complicated. It's enough complications just being diagnosed. And then I wanted to make things a little easier for myself. And for me, that made it easier. I respect that not everybody wants to do that, but and I also think being a mentor for a young child is a good thing. And I wish more hospitals had that program. I don't think, there's my endocrinologist has one patient that is looping. Can you imagine that in Kansas City? One patient.
Yeah. Kansas City is where I don't want to out somebody, but I think there's a person on the show. I think they're pretty open about that. A person that's been on the show before who lives probably very close to you, who's been very involved with looping in the past. So,
okay. Yeah.
But no, I know what you're saying though. It's all these people, the way I always think about it is through the podcast, through the context of the podcast, because, I get enough feedback from listeners that I'm comfortable saying the podcast helps people. And
it does.
And yet I know what my reach is. And while it's really great, it's nowhere near the number of people who could benefit from the information. And so you only are ever reaching a small number. So to hear that there's only one other person in your, hospital setting that's even aware of this, I'm hoping that changes. I'm hoping the algorithms that are available now from Tandem and Omnipod and things like that, I'm hoping they become more prevalent with people, because even without a firm understanding of diabetes, they might achieve much better stability and A1C.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It really does help tremendously.
Yeah. Do you ever think about, I don't want to be a bummer, but do you ever think about what might happen if you become incapable of thinking about your diabetes the way you are now?
Yeah. It scares me to death.
Right.
I've thought of that, and I thought, oh my God, how am I going to adjust, my settings? And, nobody's going to know how to do that. So, unless I remarry and somebody's as smart as my husband was,
Pam,
but
are you out trolling for 75-year-old guys that understand how to use their computer? Is that what's going on right now?
No, 60-year-old guys.
You're going
to,
you want to get more of a boy toy situation.
Well, no, just, I just feel that the people that I meet that are my age, I think I need somebody with a little more, I don't know,
pep
energy, maybe.
Yeah. You don't in any way come off your age. That's for certain. Like talking to you, or even like, I can see you online, or like looking at photos of you, anything like that. Like you don't feel, that you're 72 was surprising to me.
Thanks.
Yeah. That's, well, it's a big deal. Like it is, because it's not just about dumb luck, right? Sure, genetics are helpful, but you've also put you've put a plan in place for eating, and it's working well for you. You're on top of your diabetes in a major way. These things are, you're not, I wouldn't imagine you're having these successes by mistake. It seems like you're meaningfully trying to accomplish them. And while that doesn't always work for everybody, you're seeing the fruits of your labor here, I think.
Yeah, I think exercising every morning for 30 minutes on the treadmill helps tremendously. My basal rate was so much higher before I did that every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll listen to the news or watch TV or something, just some stupid show that, so I don't realize I'm really on the treadmill. But
right.
I think that's made my basal rates really low.
I would imagine. I agree too. And do you do it every day, 7 days a week?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the consistency too, because the truth is that the exercise is creating a variable for you. That variable is allowing you to probably use less insulin.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I've seen that.
100%. It's 100% right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you figure that out on your own, or did you kind of follow in your mom's footsteps to the walking?
Well, I figured it out because I was, I used to treadmill maybe several times a week, but then I started noticing, especially with the loop and the Dexcom, that my blood sugars were really, really good when I started doing it every day. And I thought, boy, that's good. I mean, with the loop, if there's a day where I just think I don't really want to get on, I'll create that temporary override for a few hours, and then maybe I'll ride later in the day, and then I walk my dogs every night for about a half hour too. So, I mean, and teaching yoga and
sure,
standing on my head for 5 minutes in the morning,
Well, you're very active. Like you're
yeah, I'm very active.
Not for your age, by the way. You're very active. And
yeah, nothing hurts, luckily,
Right.
So
no, I take your point there, because there are plenty of people who might like to be active and are having trouble.
They can't.
Yeah. For reasons that are not their fault. Wow, that's something. So would you, I mean, you talked about a 5A1C now. Was it always that low, like through your life?
No, it got better when I started looping.
Okay.
It was, middle, I think years ago, upper fives, and then it got to the middle fives, and then maybe 5.2 or 5.3. And then after this loop, it just kept getting better and better.
Does anyone follow your Dexcom? Like, you live alone, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, somebody should, though, because that'd be nice,
Do you have someone that you think could?
I don't know who would do that. I mean, my brother's really busy with flying in and out of town, visiting his kids, and my sister-in-law. They're busy. They go overseas. They go on trips. They're not here that much. So I don't know who. And I have some girlfriends, but I would not ask to put them under that kind of stress.
They feel pressure from it. I mean, I'm just thinking about, like, you go to bed every night by yourself. So
yeah,
it's
but my Dexcom setting is on attentive. Have you ever heard that noise? The attentive one?
Does it go like that?
No, it goes do 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 do.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Oh God, it's a killer.
So that wakes you up.
And
okay?
I mean, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. But it usually is. I pretty much know when I go to bed. I can look on the forecast of my loop, and it's showing that you probably aren't going to have any lows tonight. Or if it says you are, because maybe I took a virtual yoga class on top of everything else at 5:45 to like an hour and a half. So I will eat something more before I go to bed, so the loop has that advantage where you can actually see your forecast.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a big help.
It's huge. Yeah.
It really is. I don't know what else to ask you. There's so much, like, it feels like you've done a lot, and the time has been kind to you. And I don't know. Is there something you'd want people to know that I'm not getting from you? I'm so worried I'm not asking you the right questions, I guess, is my concern.
I don't know. Let's see. I was just looking at some notes that I made.
Yeah.
But I think I've already talked about all of the things that I put notes for.
Well, then let me ask you this: at your age, how do you find a podcast?
There was a Dexcom group on Facebook. I'm pretty sure that's where I was. And I said I had diabetes for 50 years and I have no complications. Well, I don't remember if it was like 1,000 people or 700 people, but I mean, so many people wrote, how in the world have you done this? And I told them kind of in a brief few sentences. And one of them said, you should be on the Juicebox show.
Really?
And that's
how you figured it out.
That's how I found you. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you listen to it? The podcast?
To the Juicebox?
Yeah.
Well, now I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
Oh, I'm glad. That's excellent. But do you think that do you believe that, because you've been very careful through this entire time we've been talking so far, right? You're not giving anybody advice, and you're very careful to say this might work for me and not for other people. I don't
Right.
I don't want to say what I do because it might not be right for someone else. But I mean, if you had to encapsulate where your success is coming from, you think it's a mixture, genetics, your diet,
No.
activity, how do you think of it?
No, it isn't. Because when I was in California and I was in my 20s, my doctor wanted to put me on cholesterol medicine because my cholesterol was 200 and something. And I said, no, I'm going to just eat more carefully, and that's when I changed. And then my cholesterol is 150, and the good and bad are excellent. So maybe genetically, if I ate bad, I'd get maybe,
it wouldn't
high
go
cholesterol.
So well.
But
yeah,
but I think it's exercise. I really do. I think it's the diet, eating lean protein. I don't eat hamburgers. Meat red meat doesn't appeal to me. I like chicken and fish and tofu, believe it or not. And,
and being attentive to your mental well-being too.
Say that
being attentive to your mental well-being was a big boost for you as well.
Yeah. Oh boy, was it? Yeah. Because you make better decisions when your mind is, in a healthy place. So.
Right. Well, that's really interesting. Can I ask, do you date?
I'm just starting to. Yeah.
And how long's your husband been gone? I'm sorry, I forget.
A year and a half.
A year and a half. Are you getting lonely?
Oh God. I mean, with COVID, all this hit. We thought he had 30 or 40 years. He was healthy, and it was genetics. He inherited his father's pancreatic cancer. My husband didn't even drink, hardly ever.
Right.
And ate like I did, exercise. So that we thought his neuroendocrine cancer, they grow slow and people live with it 30 or 40 years. But anyway, they told us that the doctor said, you've got 2 weeks to 2 months. He fell over in the room. They took him to the hospital and he died 5 days later.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I loved him so much. He was communicative. He was sensitive. He was brilliant. He graduated from CU with 2 degrees in the top of his, 1% of his class, something cum laude,
Yeah.
So anyway, but I've been in some meetup groups, and because the online dating was horrible, scary, and a lot of scammers, but I starting to meet some interesting people. So I think I've pushed myself out the door to, when I don't feel like it, to do something. I'm in an improv class. I take art classes. I just try to do things to meet people. Yeah, because I moved back and most of my friends moved away. So
right.
I'm in a widows group and it's fabulous. I have friends I'm making there. So yeah, I mean, I'm really doing better now. I'm glad we didn't talk 6 months ago or, a year ago.
I have a couple more questions, if that's okay, around this. So,
sure.
First of all, lighthearted. Are boys still boys no matter their age?
I don't know. I've never been romantically involved since my husband died, so I don't really know.
I'm saying, as you're meeting people, I'm trying to figure out if I'm ever going to completely mature, or are they still knuckleheads even when they're 60 and 65, or are they still trying to get to your boobs? Or does that go, you know what I'm saying?
No, yeah. I don't think so. I mean, I'm trying to find an evolved person, kind of like my husband, that has that creativity and analytic. Someone who's analytical and creative is good, because I played piano, but I need more analytical. So, that balance is good. And, if you meet a man who believes in feminism and respects women, then, I don't think they would do anything inappropriate, really, because they know that you have to start. Yeah, you have to start out as friends. And
I'm excited to hear that it's possible I'll be completely mature one day. So that's exciting for me. Seriously. Yeah. And so when your husband passes, is it difficult to take care of yourself after that? Like, where do you find, do you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the process of finding life again?
Oh, brother. With COVID, I couldn't even get out because nobody that I knew was really getting out. Mm-hmm. And I lost my appetite. I had to eat. It was like force feeding yourself every meal. Nothing tasted good. I ate cauliflower pizza probably 80% of the time because that's the only thing that tasted good to me. And of course it's, I know what the saturated, I don't eat much saturated fat. So, but, yeah, it's just been, it was a nightmare. And, I'm glad to be feeling better, but I still cry. And I have two dogs that one dog, when he died, wouldn't come to bed for 3 months. They always sleep in bed with us.
Right.
He would sit by the front door and wait for my husband. So, but the other dog didn't even know. I mean, she was oblivious. So, they're great. I mean, they have supported me. Mm-hmm. They are, I love them. I kiss them 100 times a day. And I read the other day that pumps up your endorphins. So I don't do it for that reason. I do it because I love them so much.
No, but it's nice to have somebody, to be
I can't,
with.
I can't imagine coming home to nothing, situation. But it's been really lonely and I miss the friendship the most, my husband, I could talk every night forever and, about anything, everything. Right. And, we never got sick of each other. It was like, we knew what it was like to be with other people and we knew the difference and we were grateful. So, but I do believe that I know it's not easy, but I think eventually I'll find somebody like that.
Right. I'm always fascinated when I talk to people who have lived a longer life at how, when you examine it and look backwards at it, that you've had not just a long life, but sometimes it feels like almost multiple existences within the time frame that you've been alive. Like, there's the time, you know what I mean? There's a time where you're a student and a child, then you're in LA, and then you're married, and it's almost like you've lived 3 distinct scenarios.
That's true. Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it because I've always been very independent, but it's almost feels like a half of you, is gone, and you have to claim yourself. And, not that I ever, was a needy person with my husband or any of that. I was still independent, but just, it's like finding your identity again. Right. Without having your best friend with you.
Sure. No, that makes complete sense. Well, I'm very sorry for your loss. That's for certain. And, it sounds like he was terrific and you know what you're looking for. So hopefully somebody in that area is going to pop up at an art class or at a yoga class or something.
Well, I have to tell anyone that's listening, I know when I told my husband when we were dating that I had diabetes, he said it took him like a little bit back, I don't know what the word is, it kind of like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then he said he realized I was 43. I'd had it since I was 22. I didn't have any complications. And he saw how I ate and how I took care and how I exercised. So he was okay with it. He wasn't scared anymore. And he was so supportive of the way that I, he ate very similar to the way I ate, not, not exactly, but healthy. And so there are men out there that you won't blow them away.
Yeah.
If they really are a evolved kind of guy.
Right. I try to tell people that all the time when we're talking about the subject, that the right person won't be scared.
Right.
And you don't want to force a situation where somebody really is looking at you as if, you have an expiration date on you or something like that.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I went out from, online dating a few times, and it was kind of like most of the men wanted women way younger that are my age, so that they'd kind of be around to take care of them. That's what's one of them told me. and and then, any flaw, like having diabetes, some men is a flaw,
Right.
and they want a perfect woman, and I'm not perfect. And, so, but I'm okay with myself. And so, you just have to find the right person that looks at you as a whole person, instead of that your diabetes is going to ruin their lives, or you're going to drop dead. A lot of men, I understand them being worried if somebody doesn't take care of themselves, but
yeah. Well, it's funny too, because I take the perspective of, if we're going to meet and be together, I'm worried about you needing something, and I'm worried about me needing something. I actually had a conversation with a person. I'm going to see if I can find a way to talk about this, pretty recently. And they're, my age. And one of the spouses in this very long time marriage, people have been married forever, one of the spouses is starting to have different medical issues. And they're not really like huge things, but they're time consuming things. And the other spouse said to me, I'm getting tired of them being sick. And it shocked me, because if they've been married 30 years, probably, and, together since they were kids almost. And that idea of like, it's not the person, it's not the spouse that's bothering them. It's almost not even the medical situations that are bothering them. It was that it's taking up so much time, and time started feeling finite to the person I was talking to. And, if you have an injury or something happens, and by the time you get it fixed or taken care of, it's 6 months later, and every day you're worried. And the person was like, I want to do things. I want to go somewhere. I want to, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I have things I want to do. I think I was equally shocked that they said it as I was understanding of what they meant.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt with my husband, it was an honor to take care of him. I mean, I wasn't taking care of him because, he wasn't. Yeah. I mean, but in the end, toward the end, but a little more, but, I understand that. I just like being with him. And that was more important to me than going to, Tahiti or, the Caribbean or, so I don't know.
No,
it wouldn't be.
I think I fall on your side of this too, but I have to be honest. It made me think, oh, my wife's going to bail on me if I get sick.
Well, yeah, I hope not. I think, I mean, I hope not. I mean, look, you've gone through all this with your daughter, and, that's been a lot of work, right?
Yeah. No, I know. You saying I deserve a little compassion if something goes wrong with me?
Yeah, I think so.
Damn
well,
right,
we all
Pam.
need to give ourselves compassion. This is what I'm learning from his death, that I need to be compassionate. If I just didn't do something that today, it's like, it's okay, Pam. You took care of your diabetes. You took care of the dogs. You gave one of them their meds,
Yeah.
And that's all you have to do,
I'm of the camp too, Pam, that every day doesn't need to be a Lollapalooza situation.
It can't be perfect, so I think I felt like it was more like that. It's so interesting. I mean, I think before he died, I felt like, every day was so exciting, but once I had been living alone, it's been a whole different story. But pushing yourself to be out with people has helped tremendously.
Yeah. That's what I'm taking away from what you're saying, is that being around other people is a saving grace for you.
It is.
Yeah.
It's isolating. Even though that's what I want to do, I have to not do it.
Fight against that idea.
It's horrible. Yeah.
Do you sometimes do you ever think, well, it's over, I did all the things I'm going to do? Does it ever get to you that way?
Yeah. I mean, for a long time, I've thought I'm never gonna, be be with anyone again. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think I know a lot of people who've had bad marriages, and when their spouses died, they don't want to get married again. But people in my widow's group have told me, if you had a good marriage, you usually do want to meet someone.
Yeah, it's your expectation. Hey,
yeah, but I don't, yeah.
How valuable do you find your memories at this point?
It's pretty good. Sometimes it's not good. I'll think I want to do this, this, and this, and I'll forget. Like I saw something on Facebook where this woman said, I won't write it down because I'll remember. And then she goes, ha ha, or something,
Mm-hmm.
So I write things down,
Okay.
because
so it
really helps.
And so as your memory tails away as you get older, do you have trouble recalling your life? Like, especially since your husband's gone, I'm wondering, like, is it helpful to you to think about things that you enjoyed or moments? And are those easy to come by or harder to come by?
Yeah, I'm not there yet. I can't, honestly don't even enjoy looking at photos. I can't listen to some voicemails that are still on my phone from him. But I know that one day I will be able to look at all the beautiful lives that we spent and, not be
sad,
afraid,
Yeah. So at the moment it's painful to experience.
Yeah, it's hard.
Right.
Everybody says that's the first thing they say is, oh, think of the good memories, when you tell them he died. Well, just think of all the great times. It's like, well, you think of all the great times, because that's making me feel like I'm going to throw up right now,
Yeah. Well, that is what I wanted to understand. So the memories are not as, for you, they're not as valuable, obviously, as a real situation would be. And at the moment, you're not finding them comforting.
No, I'm getting much better.
Better, though.
It's gotten much better lately. So,
it's interesting.
It'll just keep getting better. I think it's just time.
No, I appreciate you sharing all this with me. I really do.
Thanks.
No, it's been enlightening. This is a week where I talked with you, and earlier in the week, I spoke with a 22-year-old girl who was diagnosed while she was in college. And to hear her talk about her life, she only has the perspective, not that this is a bad thing, but because of her age and her situation, her almost her entire perspective is of now. It's of what she's doing right now, what happened in the recent past, what she hopes to happen in the very near future. She doesn't have the ability, as most people her age wouldn't, to wonder ahead by decades. And she has no perspective because she was a child, just prior to this happening. And then to hear you be able to reach back to a time when you were 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, when you were with this person or lived here or lived there or experienced something, even to hear that you had an infection that lasted, I mean, I'm spitballing here the numbers, but some 15 years. Like, I tried to put myself in that perspective of living with it for 15 years. And at the same time, it's something that you have not lived with for 32 years.
That's right.
Yeah. It's really,
go
ahead. Pam, I'm sorry. I think I cut you off.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were gone for a second. I lost the signal.
Yeah, well, my little sister, I just joined Big Brother, Big Sister, and I have a little sister, and boy, has that helped. Whew. Oh, I just love this little girl. She's 9 years old, and when I met her, she was 8, and so yeah,
you guys
boy,
get together.
Helped.
Yeah, no, I can imagine that would be valuable. Just to be able to. It's not as much right about directing people as it is. I mean, just kind of leading them more than telling them, I imagine. Like, just being there for an example is probably such a big deal. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Pam, if you don't have anything else, I feel good about this, but I want to make sure that we've covered everything.
Thank you. I think so.
Good. Yeah. You're probably like, how the hell? I didn't think we were going to talk this long.
Well, I hope I didn't share too much, I mean, so.
For me or for you? I thought you were great.
Yeah, I just hope your listeners are okay with hearing all the gory details and all the good stuff. So,
Pam, as hard as this might be to believe, because this is your now and you're living through it right now, I thought you told a beautiful story.
well, thank you.
A huge thank you to one of today's sponsors, Gvoke Glucagon. Find out more about Gvoke HypoPen at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. You spell that GVOKEGLUCAGON.com/juicebox. I also want to thank the Contour Next One blood glucose meter and remind you to go to contournext.com/juicebox to get Arden's blood glucose meter. Make Arden's meter your meter at contournext.com/juicebox. If you're into helping people, especially people with type 1 diabetes, I'd like to ask you to go to t1dexchange.org/juicebox. When you get there, fill out the survey completely, and you've helped somebody. All you need to be is a U.S. resident who has type 1 diabetes or is the caregiver of someone with type 1. t1dexchange.org/juicebox. Join the registry, complete the survey, help someone with type 1 diabetes, help yourself perhaps, and support the Juicebox Podcast. You will do all of this in the fewer than 10 minutes that it will take to go to that link and complete the survey. The survey is very simple. You'll know all the answers to all the questions. It is also HIPAA compliant and completely anonymous. t1dexchange.org/juicebox. There are links in the show notes of your podcast player and links at juiceboxpodcast.com to all of the sponsors and to T1D Exchange. When you take the time to click on my links or to type them in a browser, you're telling the sponsors that you came from the Juicebox Podcast, and that is a wonderful way to support the show. Are you looking for a vibrant and intelligent community around diabetes? Look no farther than the Facebook page, the private Facebook page for the Juicebox Podcast. It's called Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes. The group has over 28,000 members, and those members are responsible for between 70 and 110 new posts every day on the Facebook page. Every conceivable conversation around diabetes is happening at Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. You're going to see great questions, thoughtful answers, and supportive people. No matter if you're an adult living with type 1 diabetes or the caregiver of someone with type 1, this group is for you. Doesn't matter if you eat low carb or high carb or somewhere in between. Your questions and thoughts are welcome on our Facebook page. I hope you check it out. Last little bit, if you're looking for the Diabetes Pro Tip series or the Defining Diabetes series or any of the other multitude of series that exist within the podcast, you can find them in a number of ways. They are at juiceboxpodcast.com. They are at diabetesprotip.com. And if you belong to the private Facebook group, you can find them listed in the featured tab. Now, if you're enjoying the podcast, please consider sharing it with someone else. That helps the podcast grow more than anything. Word of mouth is definitely how the show has become what it is. If you have already shared it with everybody you can think of, and you've bought an Omnipod or a Dexcom or supported one of the other sponsors, you've done the T1D Exchange survey, and now you're looking for another way to give back to the podcast, super simple. A 5-star rating and a thoughtful review in whichever audio app you listen in would be amazing. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast.